everybody, welcome to part 2 of our how-to with your cut and emboss machine. It's only taken me, I don't know how long we've had this version of the machine since we had the other one, but I finally remember what it's called and I don't slip up as often. Now that I've said that, I probably will. But my name is Cheri. Welcome to my stamp studio. So I've been doing a few how-to little series videos, and we've done, I know how to use the Wink of Stella. I did a how-to, a very basic with the stamp pads, and that was very well received. Sometimes you don't know what you don't know because you don't know it. I've done a how-to that was kind of a storage-based one where I walked around my office because I have a lot of people ask, how do you store this and how do you store that and what do you do with that? And then I've asked for suggestions, and I have a list of probably 25 things. Some of them I can like group together, kind of like I did the storage thing. So I've got this one, and then the next one I'm going to do is how to kind of take care of your stamps and like mount your stamps. And like people asked about when their photopolymer stamps don't stick anymore, and how you stick the stickers on, and how to take old ones that don't stick or old wood ones and make them. So that'll be a whole little stamping thing. So that one's coming up after this. And then I have a whole list of other things that people have asked me to do. So if you have anything that you want me to do, I'd be happy to add it to the list. And it's not, I don't want anybody to think that your ideas gotten ignored. It's just that I have to also do my other videos and all of the class videos that I do. So it just takes time to get to them. But always happy, keep sending ideas. And if you've sent an idea and I haven't done it yet, send it again. Because sometimes they got put in the comments of videos and I tried to write them all down. But some of them I was like, oh, I'll remember that. And time flies and I'm not as young as I used to be. And sometimes I forget. So send it again. But I do have quite a list that I'm going to work through. But I'm always happy to do. And it's more with our tools. And then after I've done kind of the tools, then we'll get to some techniques, because I often feel like I cover the techniques in the videos. So for this one, I'm going to do, if you've missed the first how-to, it was on basic care of your cut and emboss machine and the plates that come with it, and how to know when it's time to get new plates, and kind of how you can extend the life of the cutting plates. So for this one, we're going to do folders. So there's 2 different kinds of folders that Stampin' Up! Has, and at any point this could change. So they could take one away or they could add two different ones. So we have, excuse me, and there's two different thicknesses and 2 different sizes. So this is a 3D. So when you look in the catalog or you look online wherever you're shopping, it will say 3D. So if you have it in person, I'm going to show you the thing that I keep mine in. And I just got this at a home goods store. It's like an antique letter thing. The reason I like it is because they stay squished together. And we're going to I'll cover in a minute what happens if you've warped your folder. But this, if they get a little warped, because you can squish them in here. Like this one's a tad bit warped. See when it closes and it is like this? Mine get warped because I use them for classes. So sometimes, like if you do my Try It class and there's a new folder and I might send it to you, I might run this through 100 times right in a row. And there are ways to prevent it from doing it. But sometimes when you're doing 100 in a row, and often it's my husband that's running these through and he is watching TV and he just does it. There are ways to prevent it. Sometimes just use, anytime you use a tool, it gets used. But sometimes if people don't take care of them, then they get so warped they're harder to use. But this, then if you put them back in here, see when this one's warped, if I stick it in here and smash it in there, then it's smushed together and it kind of helps it not be so warped. So let's find, a lot of our larger size ones are 3D. So let me find, you can tell by the thickness of them. So here's one that looks like it's not 3D. Those are small ones. Do I not have any that are not here? This one's not 3D. So I guess we have 3 different sizes, because we have just regular 4x6 and then 6x6, and then the ones that are for our mini cut and emboss, but these can be used in the big one. This is a 3D for the mini cut and emboss. This is a regular size. So you can see just when you look at them, just the thickness of them. The 3D obviously give a deeper impression because there's a deeper impression in the plastic. And this, while it's lighter, it's still a very nice impression. And the same with these. So this is, you can see in the plastic. So you can always feel it. You don't have to go get your catalog. Like this, I can kind of bend it. These will also warp easier. This is almost impossible to bend. So you know that's a 3D. So I'm just gonna show you some tips and tricks with them. Like I said, you can use the small ones in the big one because they fit. Obviously, the big ones aren't going to fit in the mini cut and emboss. And after I'm done with this series and I've done the stamp one, I will do some stuff with the mini cut and emboss machine because it's a little bit different when you use it than when you use the big one. But I want to do the stamp one first because lots of people did ask about the stamps. So let's flip this open. And all kinds of things can be all kinds of different textures of paper. So one thing that I want to let you know is sometimes, you know, a whole package of cardstock falls on the floor, or your cat hops on the table and, you know, you have some cardstock not in the best spot for cardstock and they walk on it and it gets crumpled. Well, you can take 2 new plates. If you watch the first one, you know, you don't want to put it through 2 well-used plates because it has crackles on it, but you can put a cup, like 3 or 4 pieces of cardstock on here and just run it through with no folder and it will flatten all that out because of the pressure. So that's one way you can fix your cardstock if it has gotten, if I move that, it won't be quite as shadowy. It's raining out today and it's December. You might be watching this in another month, but it's December here just before Christmas and it's like in the 60s and raining. Good old Midwest, you just never know what you're gonna get. So we covered this in the first one, but I'll remind you. So if we want to do a folder, so I want to do a folder. So I come to my number 1 plate, number 1 thing, and this is where I'll find all of my recipes. So I want to do an embossing folder. So for a standard embossing folder, that's just the regular old embossing folder, not 3D, it's going to tell me I need a 1 and a 3. So you look over here, this is number 1, see, number 1. And then it has a 3 and a 3. So it shows that I need 2 3s. So then you look at your things and you're like, what's a 3? And I'm going to use new ones. So when you buy a cut and emboss machine, it comes with everything you need. So just open these up. When I showed you the first video, I was like, I haven't opened any new ones for a long time. So see, these are 3s. And because I'm using folders, they'll look pretty in the video, and folders don't put any marks on them. So now we have the 1 and the 3 and a 3, and then it tells you that the folder goes in between. So when you read this, it says insert embossing folders, hinge first. So if you've ever snapped an embossing folder, it's because you didn't put it through hinge first. So you take your 1, so here's a new one, and here's the hinge. So we're going to do a 1, a 3, my embossing folder, and then I'm just going to show you a bunch of different pieces. Let's see if we can get them all in this one. So we have a piece of gold foil. This is the one I used in the last one that's kind of crunched up. I can't get them all in here at one time. A piece of red foil, a piece of designer series paper. We'll do these first. And I'm going to put them in hinge first. So hinge always goes through first. And that's all you really have to remember for the embossing folders as far as putting them through. Now you can add, as far as techniques, you can add ink to your embossing folders. So it has some color to it. But here are the ones that we had all those scratchy marks through, and it kind of erases them when you put it through. So embossing folders, you could have a cut and emboss machine and never actually cut, because I think the value that you get from just adding the texture to your backgrounds is fabulous. Now, here's a couple of other things as I do this one. So on this one, I have some of our gold shimmer paper, and then I have a piece of window sheet, because it's fun just to see the texture. Now, it's always right side up as far as the paper. Where it says Stampin' Up, that's the right side up. Now, it matters not so much on this one because it's this direction. But sometimes we have, like we had that giant magnolia. Now, if you did it the reverse way, if you were doing it on designer series paper, and it would be upside down. This always means that this is the right side up. But so you don't warp your folder, I just did it this way. So this time when I put it through, I'm going to go hinge side first, but I'm going to do it upside down. So if you're doing your Christmas cards, you're doing wedding invitations, you are making a stack of cards to give as a gift. So you're going to do 10 of them, every other. Do one upside down, and then right side up, upside down, right side up. And then it's always repressing your folder, right way, wrong way. But the design still, because this is the right way for the design, but it's making your folder even out. So it gets rolled one way and it smushes, but then you put it back the other way and it smushes back the other. So you can see even in this paper, we get the fun texture. And over here, look how fun that window sheet is. And I love to put some textured window sheet in cards. And people are always like, where did you get that? I'm like, oh, it's magic. Super fun. So that is the end. That is just the basic folder. It's not 3D, but plenty of texture. Now let's go with one of the 3Ds. So this is another new one. And see, for this one would matter because you want this heart to be indented the right way on your paper if you're using designer series paper. When you're just using regular cardstock and it's just colored, now if it's stamped, then you want it one way or the other. But if you're just using it regular, it doesn't matter. So this right side up, Stampin' Up, then it has this line here. So if you're using designer series paper or anything where you want the design to be straight, like on this one, you don't want your heart to be catty corner on the paper. So when you line it up, I've not even used this one. I haven't even ever opened it. So you put it on here. And if you had a full piece of paper, it's hard to do with the window sheet. But this is your guide to make sure that your paper is straight. So as long as your paper's straight to the line, it doesn't have to be at the line, but you can use it as a guide to make sure it's in here. So let's put these, we might be able to get all the pieces in this time. Let's see. I'm gonna put this over here because I want you to see what this, no, we're not gonna get them all in. So let's do this gold right here in the middle. So you can see that fun heart. I'll take that one out. I'm just gonna kind of put them in here crooked. Now this is a 3D. So if you try to put it in with this sandwich, it's not gonna work. And then if you force a folder through, it's not gonna break your cut and emboss machine, but it could warp this if you force it. So we need to go back to our recipes here. And it says using with a 3D embossing folder. And you can see that I've highlighted everything I need to know in yellow. So you don't have to read it all every time, just go look at your numbers. I need a 1, my folder, and a 4. Now the other thing that you can do, because you own these are yours, right? You can write whatever you want on them. So if you need to write, Cheri, this is what you use when you use the fat folders. You don't have to use this special secret language terms. You can write whatever you call this. If you call this the fat folder, then just write your own special thing on here in Sharpie or blends and just a permanent whatever and write it. You don't have to keep this perfect. You can write it, make it simple for you to use. So we just put this, hinge first, and this. And these are nice because they will do a 6x6 piece of paper and it should just perfectly go. Now, if you have one and you're forcing it on the 3Ds, then stop because you can't ruin your folder. Not gonna ruin your machine, but you could bust your folder. Now look how fun this is. And this is why, see, if you had this upside down, your heart would go the wrong direction. And nobody wants their heart to go the wrong direction. So super pretty. This is one that comes with a lot of words, and look how pretty those flowers are in that pink. And here's our window sheet. Now this time when I send it through, I still want I want my red especially to be popped up the right way. So I'm gonna put it through here. Now it's not, if you're a person and you're doing classes and you have 50 people come in and they're going to use it, then you could maybe have people be A's and B's, and all the A people know to do it right side up when they put it through, and all the B's. You just have 10 people at your camp and 10 people do it right side up, it doesn't matter. It's just when you're doing bulk. So if you're making a whole lot of things, like when I do my try it class and I'm going to have to do, if we use this and I do 100 of them, I need to remember to flip it. Oops, and I didn't flip it. I'm saying that because it doesn't matter for 2. But this C is right side up paper, and flip it this way when it goes through, and then that will press it back down the other direction. Now, if you have one that's really warped, I've never gotten any that have been super, super warped. Like I showed you a couple in there. You can keep them in something like this that's going to smash them. And so see, here's wrong side, but there's right side. So even though it went through this upside, and you can see that on the designer series paper, the 3D can give it, you can almost see the white paper in the middle through, but on this piece of paper, it's a little rustic. It's kind of nice. So if this starts to get a little bit warped, put it back in here. The other thing that you can do is you can just put it under something heavy, and you have something really heavy. You have all of this. So this is heavy. So you can put your folder here, and then get all the plates that you have. And if it's warped, then as soon as you're done and you realize it's warping, just put all of that on top of it and let it sit for a few days. And that'll take a little bit out of it. And then you can just kind of run it through with no paper in it. The direction, you'll be able to tell which direction it needs to go. Still hinge first with no paper, and try to work it back out. But you know, if it's so warped that it's really, really hard to use, and it's one you can still order, the embossing folders aren't expensive. So if you feel like, I mean, if you've warped it, that means you used it and you loved it and it's well used. So if you feel like it's ruining your projects or it's making it too difficult, just buy another one. Because it's obviously, if it was used so much that you warped it, you loved it. So that is folders. So the last, I have two more for this. We are going to do dies and how to do dies, and then we're going to do tools that come with it. So watch for those over the next few days. Like I said, I still have to put my regular tutorial videos in here, so these aren't going to come one right after the other, but I will be back with more. Thanks for watching. Bye.